Hi there. Hope you guys are enjoying the group. Today we're going to talk about just kind of getting into the studio etiquette, what to wear for clothing in case, again, this is your first steps into a studio, what to bring with you, kind of what to expect. Because I think this is like the nerve-wracking part for a lot of people, is like literally taking those first steps in the door to a class. So let's just talk about what to bring and what to expect. So and what to wear. So in terms of what to wear, you don't need anything fancy. You don't need anything expensive. You just need some comfortable clothes, and they shouldn't be super loose because when you, for instance, go into down dog, you don't want your shirt to fall up over your head and get uncomfortable because your sports bra is hanging out. Right? So you want something that is loose, but not so loose that it's going to be flopping all around as you move. So comfortable clothes, leggings, a tank top, sports bra underneath it, or maybe a tank top with a bra built into it. Things like that. Again, you don't have to spend a lot of money. Just make sure you're comfortable. You should bring your own mat. If you're brand new and you're like, I'm not really sure I want to invest, you have a couple options. So I know like our local Five Below store has yoga mats for $5. So you can spend $5 and get a really cheap yoga mat. It's not going to be fantastic, but it'll get you by. Most studios have mats for you to use. Some charge a rental fee, some don't. So just be prepared for that. Usually it's like a couple bucks if you're renting a mat. And then what I would tell you is if you really are starting to fall in love with yoga, invest in a yoga mat. Invest in a great yoga mat. There's many brands. I personally use the mat by Lululemon, but Manduka makes some great mats too. And if you get to a point where, again, like you're practicing regularly, just invest in a really great mat and it'll last you your whole life as long as you take good care of it. If you're heading to hot yoga, you may want to bring a towel or towels, especially if you have a mat that's not really prepared for hot yoga. So there's mats that are very specific for wicking away sweat so you don't get slippery. Or there's it's like a towel, it's like a terry cloth towel that you can buy that are specific to lay over your mat so you don't slip. Because probably one of the most frustrating things for people when they go into hot yoga is that they just start sweating and their mats get really slippery, and when your feet start slipping out from underneath you can get injured, and again, you're frustrated. So if you're trying hot yoga for the first time, maybe just bring a couple towels so you can keep your mat wipes down, or you can place the towels under your feet, so in case you're starting to slip. Of course, bring water, especially if you're in hot yoga, but certainly even if it's just coming to regular yoga, have your water handy. You're also, when you get into class, you're going to likely see, depending again where you're taking class at, you're going to see a prop wall, a place where there's tons of props. So there's going to be blocks, straps, bolsters. They might have chairs. They're going to have blankets, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, what is all this stuff? So don't fear. Your teacher should tell you what you're going to need for the class. I would personally tell you that if you're a beginner student, grab a strap, grab a block, grab a blanket, and you'll just have everything by your mat in case you need it. I truly believe in props. I could do a whole week just on props because I think that a lot of people avoid them because they think, oh, I can do it. I can reach the floor. I don't need a block to get me to the floor. That's not the point, right? I always say there's nothing magical about the floor. What's magical is how your body feels. And if you're doing a pose wrong, just because you're trying to reach the floor, you're not going to feel what you're supposed to feel in the pose, right? And you may hurt yourself. So grab props. Talk to your teacher. Oh, as a teacher myself, I don't know how many times I've had students come up to me after class and tell me they were pregnant. And God love them, I know they may be nervous and they don't want to tell me, but as a teacher, we need to know those things. So pregnancies, injuries, limitations, you get lightheaded when you go up and down fast, any of that kind of stuff, tell your teacher. Walk in, introduce yourself, tell them you're new. I personally will make eye contact with everyone that walks into my class, and if I don't recognize them, I will introduce myself. Not all teachers do that. So make sure your teacher knows that you are new, that you haven't practiced very much, you haven't practiced in a while, whatever state you're at, Maybe you're walking into hot yoga for the first time and you've never done hot yoga, but you've practiced plenty in non-hot yoga type studios. Tell them it's your first time at hot yoga, right? Then they can kind of give you the lay of the land for how their class is going to run. And then they can also talk to you about props and things like that. So other pieces of etiquette that you need to know once you get settled in, don't have your phone out. So I know that there's some people that are in the medical field. I do have a couple, docs, people that have to be on call, and so they have their pagers handy. Okay, I understand that. They're on vibrate. They're not going to be disruptive. But if you're there just to practice, you don't need your phone. You certainly don't need it on. So even if you bring it into the studio, make sure it's on silent. Turn it off. You don't need the distraction, right? That's not why you're there. You've walked into that place to spend time on you, so you don't need your phone turned on. Leaving early. So I used to be a big offender of this. Like, I used to leave class early and miss Shavasana. And Shavasana is the very end pose in almost every class. It's where you're laying flat on your back or on your bellies, because I offer it on your bellies. And you get to check out for maybe 10 minutes, maybe 6 minutes, maybe 3, just depending on how the teacher is teaching the class. It is the best part of the class, and you shouldn't miss it. However, I understand, because I teach early morning classes, and I know that those last 5 or 10 minutes are critical for people to get to the showers or wherever they're heading to get to work on time. So all I ask is that if people are leaving early, leave before Shavasana. You will know when the teacher is heading into Shavasana. So if you can just pack up and leave before students get completely settled in, then you're not being disruptive, and you can leave early. I used to always leave early and try to get out the door before Shavasana, because you don't want to be disruptive to the rest of the class. Just a couple other things to think about when you head into a class. A lot of classes, especially at studios, gyms are a little different. You'll notice that there are no mirrors, right? And even at the club I teach at, there are no mirrors. And there's a reason for that. Some people think, well, I need mirrors because I need to see what I'm doing and I need to know if I'm doing it right. That also draws your ego into that space, right? You don't really need to see if you're doing it right. You don't need to check yourself out and your neighbors out. You need to feel if what you're doing is right. If it feels good in your body, then you're doing it right. You don't need a mirror to tell you that. So I always say this. I say this often when I start my classes. Check your ego at the door, right? Leave your ego at the door. You walk in, you set your mat up, and it's you and your mat for 60 minutes, for an hour and 15 minutes, however long the class is. That's it, right? Your neighbors don't matter. You listen to the teacher. You find your breath. You don't really have to look around much. Now, if you're new, you may look around just to see what's going on, but don't look around to compare yourself to others. Don't look around to see what others are doing. There's people that come to classes and they're doing headstands when the teacher's really not cueing it. And that's fine, because that's what they want to be doing. You don't need to pay attention to that. It's you and yourself and your mat, right? So those are just a few tips as you walk into the class or to a studio for the first time. The point is, I want you to feel comfortable. The studio or the teacher that's teaching wants you to feel comfortable, and you should feel completely comfortable walking into a class. It's not a competition. It's certainly not a competition with others. Now, you may find it's a competition with yourself, like you're trying to push yourself to do something perfect or better. It's not. You have to recognize that the body that you walked into class with on that particular day is the body that you have to do yoga with. And it's different from the times before that you've done yoga. So you kind of got to tune in and listen to what's going on inside your body that day, and you'll have the best yoga experience ever, right? Once you can get past that hurdle, yoga class will be really enjoyable. So we covered a lot today. If there's questions, please, again, let me know. I'm happy to answer them, and looking forward to hearing from you guys. Have a great day.